bad. I'm absolutely ashamed, and I am a part of that generation. Okay, but we have screwed up, man. We've tolerated so much tyranny. I mean, evidently, the freaking sky's the limit. How many people do you hear talking like me who point, I want to do the math. I want, calculating the consumer price index, what they refer to as the CPI, and in economics terms, it's the market basket of goods, basically, of essential human needs. None of us can get away from. We all absolutely need, by today's standards, to survive. Like, certain degree of energy needs we have, and food, and potable water, and shelter. Okay, housing. We all have these needs, and the CPI is a very calculable figure. So you look at what the Labor Department said. How come the Labor Department hasn't given the minimum wage workers a federal minimum wage so that we didn't end up balkanized the way we are today, divided as Americans? Okay, where you're used to say, hey, I've been making $5-10 an hour in Arkansas, and I'm able to be a homeowner. Try that in San Francisco, my friend. It ought to be the same, though. Okay, it ought to be the same. If they kept a federal minimum wage, think about it. I'm sorry. See, I'm coming off arrogant. And you know what? I'm sorry. Because I don't really think it helps me to be effective, but I'm really trying to educate people on this. And understand what a big deal this is that I'm bringing up here. But understand what this has done to us. Now we've got cities having to set their own minimum wage. I got a daughter down here. She lives down about 200 miles or so from where I am in Pacifica, California, on the coast. And she works in San Francisco. She doesn't want to work in Pacifica, even though it would save her probably 30 minutes or an hour a day back and forth and the parking and everything else. But she's worth it because she can get $15 an hour. She's in the food service industry. And, hey, who doesn't understand it? So it's kind of a loophole. I mean, she can live in one city and work in another where it pays better by law. Okay, but it shouldn't be this way. If we had a federal minimum wage, it'd be the same cost of living in, BF, Arkansas, as it would be in Los Angeles, California, Manhattan, New York, or San Francisco, California, or any other place in the world your little heart desires to live in, Hawaii, whatever. It wouldn't matter. Do you understand? If they had kept some checks and balances, some accountability. And this is just a big deal. I really want people to understand what I'm saying. That if it would have been as simple as calculating the consumer price index on an honest up and up level without fuzzy math. Okay, you've got to include housing in that. And if you did, your inflation rate has been just over the decades. Remember, this didn't happen overnight. They couldn't debase our money, de-worth our money, devalue our money, okay? Dilute our money overnight. They had to do this gradually, slowly, and the Labor Department's been in on it. They couldn't have gotten away with this. Employers would have complained. If every year they were telling them, hey, you got to give your employees by law, by federal law, you got to give your employees a raise. And the justification is X. Do you understand? They say, well, their cost of living went up. Now, if you want to investigate why their cost of living went up, do it. In the meantime, the federal minimum wage is X. And here's why. It's reasonable. It's logical. It's not radical. It's not bleeding heart liberal. It's conservative. We want to keep the value, the worth of our money intact. Our standard of living. We've enjoyed this. We set the minimum wage here, okay, on this date. For a good reason. We calculated the CPI. Okay, this is no Drake's equation, okay, where you can never really do it accurately in any kind of certain way. No, this is concrete. We know how much your cost of living went up for those basic, essential human needs. I don't care. People can manipulate the markets and the luxury goods all they want. Nobody cares. But they're not. That's why I object so vociferously. They're manipulating markets on essential human needs. It's evil. It's ungodly. It's untenable. It's unnerving. It's insufferable. Intolerable. It must change. If I tolerate it, then I'm culpable. Okay, in my estimation, I'm guilty. If I don't speak out the way I am and try to encourage others to speak out the way I am and educate people empower people, bring them out of Babylon, bring them out of confusion, bring them out of ignorance, and say, look, I'm a mathematician. Let's do the freaking math. Let's settle this once and for all. If I'm wrong, let the chips fall where they may. I'll admit it. Okay, I'll eat humble pie. If I'm right, okay, then let's start asking some damn serious questions, because where is this thing headed? We're way the hell down this demonic rabbit hole to hell, my friends. Okay, this bandwagon of death and destruction, the wheels are just falling off, and they're going to push the envelope as far as they can. They're going to keep kicking the can and passing the buck as far as they can, because they're snot-nosed, bratty, spoiled, blood-drunken freaks, man. That's who they are. This bankster, gangster, money-printing, okay, traitorous political combination are working in concerts against the best interests of the American people. This is how they're doing it. This is called financial tyranny. It's theft of the working class, the productive class. They minimize you. They marginalize you. They subjugate you, tell you, well, your job is unskilled, and you don't even need an education. Yeah, and now they're pulling out the rug in the educational system. If I keep raising the tuition, people can't afford it. They're scared to death of debt. How many people now, they're just, I'm going to find a trade. I mean, I'm this and that and the next thing. And it used to be, no matter what you did in this country, you had dignity. Okay, you could afford a middle class. You could afford the American dream. Okay, and traditionally that's always been home ownership. I don't care about inequality. If they want to manipulate markets, fine. Well, there's only so many Ferraris. So, you want to tout your elitism and say, wow, I'm so great because now I can drive this car and nobody else can. You can still have your special little things, but the competition will catch up. If we had a semblance of true capitalism, we would have free markets. We wouldn't have the government intervening like the 2008 bailout. That was straight up fascism. How dare they bail out the criminals, go against the will of the American people, and tell you, well, you just don't know what's good for you. They're criminals, my friends. These are the too big to jail ones that Nancy talked about. Well, nobody's above the law. Okay, they're all criminals. How do these politicians, look at these lucrative jobs, what is Nancy Pelosi worth? Look it up for me. What is Obama worth? He just did some multi-million dollar deal in some property. You understand, these people are getting into these jobs to be corrupt. All this lobbying that's going on under the table, God knows what's going on. The sky apparently is the limit. They're all a bunch of freaking criminals. They're all freaking evil. They've sold their soul to Satan, man. That's how they're behaving. I don't know that for sure. I'm not judging them, but on the evidence, you call a tree by its fruit, man. Like Christ said, I mean, these people, they stink to high heaven. I mean, these people they're in for Dante's Inferno and the 9 circles of hell. Okay, that's where they're going. Pick one circle, but I mean, hey, I don't want to be down there with these freaks, man. These money-loving freaks that will betray their fellow human beings. I mean, that's it. Forget America. America's just, it's just a title. So what? It's what we're about as Americans, that people love. And I welcome people to come here from everywhere in the world. People that love America for our values. I love them, and I want them here. Great, come. Hey, if we did break out into a civil war tomorrow, okay, we got to unite. Like last week I was talking about this idea of uniting. We've got to unite. We've got to understand who's trying to keep us divided and why. What is their motivation? Because you're weak, okay? You lack confidence. You're divided on a local level in your community, and that's where we need to come together. We're not going to fix things on a grassroots basis. That's why I say don't blame your local leaders, even up to the governor in your state. This is all happening from on high. It's the Congress and Senate in collusion with the money-printing gangster bankster class. That's who has done this to us. That's who's affecting things in your local community. You're not going to fix it on a local political level. It's not their fault. There's nothing. They're as powerless as the next guy. It's these top evil dogs that have done this. And we've got to parent these people. We've got to come together. Understand that they're the ones that are dividing us. This balkanization that I'm proving, just evidence, the financial balkanization. Well, you understand, if they had kept a federal minimum wage, how that would have caused this great cohesion in our land and set that shining light example that America is supposed to be. So people wouldn't be scrambling to come here to America. It'd be nice in their countries too if they followed our example. If we had been allowed to have prosperity through true capitalism, free market, supply and demand. Okay, if something starts going up in price, we've all got to say, whoa, 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 the media should focus. Why is this thing going up? No, we can't play the game like that. That's rigging the game. Okay, if there's no disruption in the supply chain, no, you cannot get away with it. We need rules to this game that apply to everybody, that are in the best interests of every person, not some of the people. That's what a republic is. Okay, all the people's interests have to be protected. It's as simple as that. Okay, and if they're not being protected, which they're not, they're being protected selectively. We're going to bail out the bankster criminals who deliberately caused the crash of '08 and the need for this bailout. No, let them fall on their faces, bust out their collective teeth. Let the chips fall where they may. That's what they deserve. It wasn't just incompetence and stupidity. Okay, they weren't being nice and overextending themselves. They were dumping money. That's their product. They dumped money on the housing market, knowing it was going to blow out the pipes of the economy. Deliberately. And remember all the houses they stole in that rash of foreclosures, the effects of which are still being felt today? And then they got the mainstream media telling you, oh, it's all good because the value of your house is preserved. Okay, because if they let the bailout they didn't let the bailout go through, your housing price would have crashed, which translates to means your money, your housing dollars would have gone through the roof. You understand? We would have had a resetting of the economy in 2008. They didn't let that happen. Okay, you understand how minimum wage is involved in all this? I mean, it's obvious. Don't expect minimum wage to keep going up. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I'm a proponent of $15. No, freaks. I mean, friends, listen. Freaks, friends, whatever. Hey, do the math yourself, okay? And it'll astound you. Just calculate. You can have the same standard of living as in the early 1960s on $1.25 an hour federal minimum wage. Okay? Do the math. Remember, you could live in any city in America at that time. Minimum wage, you could be a homeowner. Basically, that's it. Maybe slightly above in some of the more desirable areas. Okay? But you calculate today in your town how much basically it would take. Now, remember, one person working in the family, comfortably being able to support the family, no matter how many kids you decide to have, pay all your bills, mortgage on your house, car payments, insurance, all that stuff. Take care of the entire household on that job. One worker in the family. Yeah, 40 hours a week still. But just do it. And you come up with a ballpark figure. Okay, I'm not asking you to do every little, dot every I and cross every T. Okay, I'm just saying, look, do the basic math. And you come up with your own minimum wage, what it would need to be to do that today. So we're so far removed from that. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen. That isn't going to happen, clearly. So the only answer is to demand a lower cost of living. That's it. That's our only hope. And say, well, it's not the workers' fault. The workers are not the ones that drove up the cost of living, but now they're being fingered for cost of living inflation, and they blame themselves. We've got some of the nicest people in society. Okay? The kindest, gentlest people, the meek, the righteous out there doing these jobs that are absolutely essential to the welfare of society, blaming themselves for inflation. Can you imagine where we're at? I mean, America's gone down the tubes, my friends. And we've got to face it. We've got to admit it. We really do. We really have to stand up to these tyrants and demand justice, because if we don't, we can expect more of the same. I mean, somewhere along the line, the rubber's got to meet the road. We've got to turn this thing around. And like I said, this thing has got legs. It's got momentum, and it's got inertia at the same time. And we're in a lot of trouble, and only God can help us. So at the end of the day, all my ranting and all this diatribe I go on, hey, listen, that's it, man. That's where my solace lies, and that's what I can tell you. It's going to be good, okay, when the good guys prevail. When, not if, because God's on the side of the good guys. and all those that are fighting the good fight, that are in the arena, speaking truth to power, and helping to set God's captives free, because that is what God wants for us. It's God wants for all of us what is best, what is logical and reasonable, what any good set of parents wants for their kids. Okay, it's the same. He doesn't play favorites. This earth he has given to humanity. He wants us to share it and learn to live together in peace and harmony, safety, security, freedom, and prosperity for all of us, all his